of the Safety Net series. This is the third year of doing these special broadcasts, and this week we are featuring our partner agency, Penelope House. We're really excited to have Tonie in with us again, and she'll be telling us all about what they've got going on. But first, as always, we want to make sure and thank our sponsors. There are some of them featured there on your screen. We are grateful for them and all that they do, and all of our contributors and supporters. They make all of the work that the United Way does and the support that we're able to offer our partners possible. So, good morning, Tonie Ann.
Good morning.
So we'll just jump right in. I think a lot of people may have heard of Penelope House, but they may not really know the full scope of the work that you do. So why don't you tell us all about it? Start with the broad stuff and then kind of get down into some of those programs that people may not be aware of.
Okay, sounds great. Well, Penelope House was the very first shelter for victims of domestic violence and their children in the state of Alabama, and actually fifth in the nation. But we opened on March the 19th, 1979. So I think a lot of times people may have heard Penelope House and may kind of sort of know what we do, but the first thing that people think of us is the emergency shelter for the victims of domestic violence, because when law enforcement responds to a domestic violence call, it's generally one of the most dangerous calls they can respond to. And a lot of times when they get on scene, they're trying to help figure out what's going on in the home situation. And a lot of times the abuser may not still be on site. So they're interviewing the victim and trying to get the details. And a lot of times they're afraid to stay in that house that they're in because the abuser may return later. So Penelope House is an option that law enforcement can offer victims to give us a call to discuss their situation. We again focus on intimate partner violence. And when they call the crisis line, they talk to a staff member. We're open 24/7, 365 days a year. So anytime someone calls the crisis line, they talk to a person and they kind of describe their situation, what they're going through, what's going on. And many times, when they need, they're in imminent danger and they need safety, a safe place to go, then they will come to Penelope House. And sometimes they'll come straight from their home right after an incident. They come with law enforcement, and it's there for their protection to make sure that someone doesn't follow them to shelter. And it's for staff's protection to make sure that no one shows up here and puts anyone else in harm. So we are grateful and thankful for law enforcement. We work with the Mobile County Sheriff's Office, or work with Mobile Police Department. We also serve Mobile, Washington, Clark, and Choctaw counties. So we work with all of their law enforcement officers as well. So, when a client comes into shelter, they can bring their children as well. And, the first thing we do when they come to shelter is make sure that they need food or drink, to take care of their basic needs first. And then we basically assign them a room, and while they're in shelter, they'll have a case manager to help them with their possible plans moving forward. They have access to a victim's advocate, a court advocate who can talk with them about if they're interested in police reports or protection from abuse orders, or if they need to be linked with any other resources in the community that may need for legal representation. So we provide those community referrals that are much needed as well. But while they're in shelter, they will pay nothing. We provide all the food, the clothes, anything that they need, because by all the federal definitions, someone who is fleeing domestic violence is considered homeless. So we take care of them in the shelter and provide all those things for them. And their case manager helps them kind of figure out what they want to do next. Whether they're not even from Mobile and maybe want to go back home, and they may live in California. And so we're working, how do we get them back home to their support system and make sure they have resources wherever they're going. There are domestic violence shelter programs throughout the U.S. That if someone relocates, we make sure they have the name of the shelter that serves where they're going, because they can always receive outreach counseling services, that are specific to domestic violence through them.
So you mentioned you use a broader term, intimate partner. So I think a lot of people don't think about, sometimes it's not always the women that are victims.
Right. And domestic violence is in a general term is any kind of family violence. So, it could be, a parent abusing their child. It could be an uncle with a niece. And so, like I said, so intimate partner violence is what it refers to. It's the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, same sex. It doesn't matter, whoever that intimate partner is, because the dynamics of that type of abuse is a lot different. There's a lot of power and control issues and manipulation and stalking and things like that that you deal with on a different level when it's an intimate partner.
Sure. Okay. So beyond the shelter, then you guys have some education programs too.
Right, right. It's we always the goal of is to eliminate domestic violence, and the best way to do that is to start when children are young. We as parents are their first teachers, and if they see mommy and daddy fighting at home, or whoever the adults are in the home, that's what they learn. So they deal with their problems, they deal with their emotions or frustrations or whatever through hitting or kicking or whatever. So we go into the school system. We have a curriculum that's approved by the Mobile County School Board and the other school boards in our other counties as well, where we go in and we talk to as little as pre-K about who are safe adults that you can talk to if something's not right at home, if you don't feel comfortable at home, if your stomach hurts, and who can you talk to. So in addition to your parents, it might be a neighbor, it might be a grandparent or an aunt or a minister or a teacher, or we just kind of give them ideas of people that they can talk to and feel like they can safely talk to them. But as kids get older, we talk to them everything about good touch, bad touch, bullying, dating violence, red flags, green flags, things like that within a relationship. And, we'll find many times where children will say, especially when they're young, they don't know, or it's a family secret that they're not sure that they're supposed to be keeping. So sometimes the younger children talk much more than the older kids. But, when they start hearing that it's not okay, it's not acceptable, that, parents should not, um, you shouldn't be afraid for your parents and things like that at home, then they realize that it's not happening in everybody else's house. And that, they want it to stop and they want to be safe and they don't want to be caught in the middle. So a lot of times kids will go home with a sticker that says kids are special, but it has our crisis number on it. They'll go home and tell their parent, we don't have to, we can go here and be safe and we don't have to be afraid. So like I said, those are things that we kind of hope that children will understand when they're young. Um, we as kids get older and we're looking at high school and things like that, we really go into dating violence and use of weapons and the techniques and manipulation and things like that, and peer pressure and what have you that can occur within a relationship.
And then there's multiple like levels too, like by being secluded from your family and being made financially dependent, that makes it really hard sometimes for people to leave.
Right, right. And there's so many different types of abuse. I think people most often think of the physical abuse, but it can be emotional abuse, psychological abuse. It can be a religious abuse where you're not allowed to pray or go to church the way you want to. There's also the financial abuse, which is really difficult because if you have not been allowed to work at home, or you work and your money is direct deposited and you do not have control of the money, that creates all kind of problems and where someone may feel trapped. And sometimes the self-esteem issues, when you're told over and over again that no one will ever love you, or you're lucky to have me, or whatever kind of stuff like that, you just kind of, when they've been isolated from family and friends, and that's the feedback you constantly receive, you start to believe it. So like I said, it can be very difficult, and it's it's also the most dangerous time when people leave a domestic violence incident. That statistics show that when victims leave of abuse, because you're challenging the power and control issues, that's when you're more likely to be injured or even killed in a domestic violence incident. So a lot of times you'll see in the news it's the ex-boyfriend or the former spouse or something like that. So when like I said, you see that more frequently than when someone stays within the relationship for that to escalate to that level.
Would you say that the holidays tend to be a time of stress sometimes for folks? Do you see an influx around the holidays?
What we say is abuse is a choice.
Sure.
It's not like war. It's not like self-defense. If you're in the middle of a robbery or something like that, abuse is a choice. And so many times people during the holidays may drink or partake of whatever kind of stuff. So when you're like that, a lot of times you can't, your self-control isn't what it should be. Just because you just act on things and you may react quicker than maybe before you would have walked away and just cooled down or whatever. Whereas if you've been drinking and your inhibitions, aren't as where you may react quicker.
Sure.
But technically it's not. I mean, Thanksgiving, our census is usually one of the lowest of times because usually, somebody chooses not to abuse, so someone is home to prepare the turkey and the dressing and all the fixings and all of that. And every year we've seen that same trend over and over again.
That makes sense.
Christmas is different. Christmas, when people are in shelter, it's really bad because a lot of times people will try to keep their families intact for the holidays to preserve traditions, to make things as good as they can be for the family. But what we see year after year after year is when school lets out, that's when our census will climb, and that's when it's the highest because it's kind of like they're trying to hold it together to finish the school year. And then once school is finished, then we can start new and make some decisions at that point. So that's one time of the year when we can guarantee that our census is about to double sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then when we're looking at other services that we offer as well, we're in the court systems as an advocate. We make sure that victims, they know their rights, and, what their rights are as victims of crime. We make sure that they want what they want to happen to the abuser who's now in court and before a judge. What do they want to see happen? And if it's, a lot of times it's an incident they're in court about that happened a month ago. And so since then, things could have escalated and there could be many other incidents since then that she needs to make sure, or he needs to make sure that attorney, the district attorney office or the city prosecutor, that they need to know about the escalation. And sometimes it's even more violence, and it might be including a pet now, or destruction of property, or the threatening text messages and things like that. So we always make sure that information is relayed to the prosecutor. And sometimes someone may not want to go forward. Maybe he's going to counseling. He or she's going to counseling, and they may want to try again or whatever. But like I said, whatever their desire is in court, we're there to support them and make sure that the legal system is hearing their voice, what they want to have done.
Okay. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
How do you get how does your day-to-day run? How can people help?
We have Penelope's Closet, which is our thrift store, and it's kind of a dual purpose in the community because it's there for people to donate items, and we literally sell them, and those funds support the shelter. But when we have someone in shelter who may have a court appearance and needs, we always say, if you look good, you feel good, and maybe needs a new outfit to wear to court, then, the case manager will get all the sizes. We'll relay it to the store manager at Penelope's Closet. We'll pull options. We'll bring it back to the shelter, and whatever fits, they get it for free. So if we have someone who is leaving the shelter or maybe moving to transitional living and they need some household items, whatever we have at Penelope's Closet at that time, then they can get that for free. So it might be a toaster oven, or it might be a lamp, or it could be pots and pans, whatever you would need for your house, linen or what have you. So, it's great when people go to Penelope's Closet and donate items that they no longer need, but they're still in good condition and can be used by others.
Yeah, I think that's really important to remember. Sometimes people go into the closet like, well, I don't want it. Like, yeah, but think about it really. Like, if you don't want it, why? Is it because you're not wearing it, or is it because it's outlived?
Yeah,
You guys want the stuff that
and
still.
that's our rule of thumb within the
Yeah.
shelter. If you wouldn't wear it, or your child wouldn't wear it, or your grandchild wouldn't wear it, then our clients shouldn't wear them, because
Right.
that's the last thing you want to ever do is make someone feel like they're less,
Sure.
and they get that kind of
Yep.
stuff. No, we want them to get nice things, and especially here we are at the holidays. We want they are all given wish lists, and they're asked, and we tell them to ask for what you want. I mean, maybe not the car or the computer, but if it's if you want an Xbox, ask for it. I mean, when else do you have the opportunity to do that?
Yeah.
And it may or may not be granted. But like I said, we want them to get brand new gifts, just like our kids do at home, or anyone else's. And they, some of the holidays, although you would think are some of the saddest times because they're in the shelter, sometimes there's just so much joy. Santa has come to the shelter, and we get it every year where kids are afraid that Santa doesn't know where to find them.
Yeah.
We reassure them that Santa will find them. And, some of them have said it's some of the best Christmases they've ever had. I mean, they know that others in the community care, because they know that they're getting, presents from all kinds of people, not just Santa. And they see their parent happy. The parent has presents to open as well. And we have, cooks on staff. We have kitchen staff that prepare wonderful meals. So, they're getting beautiful memories that they're making in the shelter. And that's what we hope, that when adults and kids, when they leave the shelter, they remember not why they came to shelter, but they remember the delicious fried chicken they had at the shelter, or the fire truck they got for, that kind of stuff. It's more of a happy feeling when they leave, instead of the trauma and drama that comes with.
Yeah. So like a new
beginning,
beginning, as opposed to
hope. Yeah.
Putting that behind. This is how we're going forward from here.
Right.
That's wonderful. Yeah. How else can folks help?
Yeah. I think a lot of times in as a 501c3, as a nonprofit, we have sustained a lot of funding cuts. And while, we all say, they expect us to do the same amount of work with less money, we're actually end up doing more work with less money. And it's very difficult to continue that, year after year after year. And this year was no different than the others. And some of the funding cuts are happening at the federal level. That's passed down to the state. That's then passed down to us. But, that's how people can help is financial donations, whether it's a good old fashioned sending us a check, whether it's going on their website, penelopehouse.org, or gift cards. And gift cards are a great thing to do. They're a lot of times in shelter, we will give clients the actual gift card and let them go get what they need, because that is a sense of freedom. I have the ability, I've got this $20 Walmart card. I can go in there and get whatever shoes I need for my new job, kind of thing, or whatever the situation is. We provide food and snacks and everything else, but if your child loves oatmeal pies, then you want to go get oatmeal pies, because they've always had that at home, and you wanted to have it in the shelter. So it gives them the ability to pick something they need or want, and can have it on their own. So we encourage people all the time to give us gift cards. And if there's a need that we can't meet, or if it's something specific for a new job or something like that they have to have, we can always provide them with that. We have standards that we abide under. And one of those standards does not allow us to provide medications. So even if someone has a headache in the shelter, we can't give them a Tylenol or an Advil or thing. We refer them to community resources, of course, but sometimes if you need something quickly, we can give them a Walmart card and just say, hey, it's your choice, get whatever you want. And we can't say, you can't buy this or you can buy this. It's their choice. And
Right.
that way, if they do need a medication, they can go and get whatever they or their children may need. They're given a lockbox in their room that they keep their medicines in. But like I said, that's another way of filling a need that we technically aren't supposed to fill.
Right. So those little gaps, those gift cards really help with those gaps.
So they really
That's
do.
good to know. And they're so versatile. And especially, and if you're careful, you can find some that don't expire right away, or they give you a year or two for use. So
Right. Yeah, we've had people donate, and, local restaurants even, or Chick-fil-A or fast, something like that. That's always a nice thing to do because if a client, they have a car and they have a job, they have to continue living their life, but our job is to teach them how to do that safely. What are the things you can do to safely do that? But they want whoever Arby's or whoever, and they've got a gift card that gives them like one more thing. Hey, I can do that too, and it's one step towards normalcy. And the hope is that we give them all the tools they need while they're here. And when they leave and start a new life, they follow a safety plan. They're always thinking safety, 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 and how do I stay safe? And we have support groups where they still can continue to do support groups with us, even when they leave shelter.
that's great. So you also have some events, some from time to time, and I know you guys have different activities. Do you guys have something coming up?
Well, you know how it is when you have an event. It's a year's worth of planning for a
Yeah.
one day event. So our biggest fundraiser is the Mobile Chocolate Festival,
Right.
and it's actually on April the 13th.
Okay.
And
So
we
not
have
too far off.
not too. I know that it's closer than we know, but we have different levels of sponsorship that people can partake in. If someone is a vendor, even if they're not a chocolatier, as long as they have a chocolate theme within their booth, they could be a vendor there. We utilize volunteers during the day of the event and even before for setup. So they can call the administrative office at 251-342-2809 and ask to speak with someone about the chocolate festival, and we'll give you all that information. But that's our biggest fundraiser, and it's a great event. Nearly 5,000 come every year, and it's a one-day event. But we always have information about Penelope House there, so people who need to understand more about our services can pick up literature. We have a lot of people who will just kind of get our crisis line, even if they don't need it. That way, if they know someone who needs it, they can always provide that line to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea
So,
to always make it not incognito, but to be able to be discreet about it
right,
for
right,
friends or families that may need it. Okay.
exactly.
Well, is there anything that you would like the world to know that we have not covered?
The only thing I think, especially as we're nearing the holidays, our motto has always been "Peace on earth begins at home."
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great message to kind of keep in mind, because when there's violence in the home, it does spill out into the community, whether in the form of bullying in school or you know whatever kind of violence is out there. So if we can start focusing the home and teach our kids respect and you know how to be kind and to be careful with your words and things like that, I think it'll make all of our cities better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to put up our ending graphic that has some more of our sponsors shown. Tonie, we appreciate your time. And as always, Penelope does such great work and is such an important resource to the community. Hopefully one day, maybe we'll all be out of business, but until then, we are grateful to have you. And we will be back again with the next installment in a few weeks.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.